Hello and welcome, and yes, there has been developments in the TSR versus Wizards of the Coast lawsuit. The lawsuit has now been turned upside down with an injunction that Wizards of the Coast has now slapped on Justin Lanasa, aka TSR Hobbies, aka TSR, aka the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum, and aka TSR Hobbies Inc. or TSR LLC. This is absolutely vicious. Justin, the time is up, and the time is to come clean at this point. The filings, the evidence, the amount of stuff that has been presented in front of the courts at this point, discovery is going to be an absolute nightmare. This is on the heels of your data breach. This is next to the FBI might as well show up at your door at this point and arrest you, even though apparently you have FBI ties, which I highly doubt you still have those. Because this all ties in together, I might as well talk about this at the same time. Coming up, Wizards of the Coast put out a Dungeons & Dragons Spelljammer Adventures in Space. This was supposed to be their new Spelljammer module, but on the heels of that, a lot of people on Twitter took to vent their frustrations about, namely, the image you see below me now. A lot of people said this was racist. They said there was something to do with equating this to African people or something like that. I don't get that when I see this, and a lot of people got up in arms about it because the background of this flying monkey race, which is more akin to those of Wizard of Oz, or in this case, like the Monkey King mythology in Chinese folklore that is supposedly more towards Dragon Ball Z and the Saiyans than there is of actual taking American culture or African culture and turning it into a minstrel monkey. Like, I don't get it. I've seen it, but people got so upset they went and found Jim Crow era pictures and tried to equate them exactly to the photo you see below me. But you can go out there and find hundreds more of this exact same pose of all different nationalities. It did not just go to one nationality, and it in itself, people got upset. They said it was racist. But what's been flying under a lot of people's noses is the actual racism that has taken place in amongst the Wizards of the Coast versus the TSR battle that is going on here. I have done a video on this in the past. There was a Star Frontier New Genesis version coming out with TSR under the guise of Justin Lanasa, and because of that, he pushed it forward, and they actually talked about how in the documents that are now submitted to the courts as evidence under Exhibit B or D with the new injunction that was there, they actually submitted the documents that actually bring up the N-word race in a in English language, no Spanish translation. And then they talked about how they were a lesser form of humanity, and this is absolutely, inherently, blatantly racist, and Wizards of the Coast has actually filed an injunction against that property because it's going to do damage to the reputation and damage to their own version of the Spelljammer sort of ish, and their Star Frontiers that is supposed to also be coming out relatively soon. Okay, well, that was a lot to say. I hope you guys are still with me because we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the TSR stuff. I've been covering this for a while with videos off and on. There has been so much detail in this. It's taken quite a few videos to get here and time with the court system to get where we are today. So do go check out the TSR files. It is a playlist that I have together. I will link that somewhere in this video to go check that out. Mainly what's going on here today is Wizards of the Coast has actually filed an injunction, a preliminary injunction against TSR because of the use of their Star Frontiers New Genesis adventure that they're putting out. Has very, very blatant racist ideas in it, to the point that they're equating a lesser form of one section of humanity versus a greater form of humanity. This is absolutely inherent and does damage to the Wizards of the Coast name because they own Star Frontiers. They actually have the trademark, or they have the copyright of it, and Justin Lanasa has actually filed the trademark for it, once again trolling with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Now, so they have this injunction. They're proposing that that the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum, which was not named until this injunction came in, cease and desist all actions to do with this. That's the proposal they have put forward. Oral argument requested. So they're looking for stuff. They're citing all of these cases in it. On top of all of that, you've got people from Wizards of the Coast that have been with them since 1995 on top of that, saying that they have to stop what they're doing because they can't do this type of thing. So this is the actual injunction here in the court files. This one is notice of appearance, saying that the new attorneys are taking the case in the Wizards of the Coast case. They're adding more people to the Wizards of the Coast case. This is the proposed order granting for the counterclaim. This is all the history that Wizards of the Coast has put together with all their statements, saying that they're trying to create a diverse and inclusivity sort of stuff. They're talking about all the changes, all the erratas that they've done on their products to try and distance themselves from the stuff that we are seeing from Lanasa's version of Star Frontiers. Now, on top of all of that, you've got this looks like the Star Frontiers data leak. Yeah, this is the Star Frontiers data leak that actually has been submitted into evidence at this point. So, declaration of Lauren Rainwater. She is counsel for Wizards of the Coast, and they brought up a Twitter thread from No Hatin' Gaming, which I believe they kind of started up in May when all of this went awry, and they made a Twitter post when the leaks happened. The leaks is on a previous video. You do want to check that out. And then that's exhibit, I believe it's D in this, where they're showing his Twitter thread. Yeah, here, his Twitter thread with the Star Frontiers New Genesis, where they're talking about the N-word race and then the Nordic race being the Aryan race of World War II Germany at that stuff. And then they're talking about putting in trans bots, making fun of trans people. This is not right. Disagreements aside, political stuff aside, this type of rhetoric is not normal. This is not the type of thing that we should be seeing in a game adventure, being blatantly racist and blatantly attacking some sect of humanity. This absolutely makes no sense and does not belong in the games we all play. I come from the idea that Dungeons and Dragons and everything has always been diverse. You've always had a very diverse set of people playing the game. You've always had people wanting to play the game. I come from the time and age where I was picked on for playing this game. I'm in my 40s, right? I started playing D&D when I was 16. We were a small group of kids in the school, and we got together after school and actually played D&D. We used to go to our downtown library and play there. That's how much we used to play this game. It was absolutely crazy. But at the same time, there was no thought about the type of people that we were playing with. We had multiple people. We actually joined LARPing groups, live action role-playing groups at one point, where we all were doing this type of thing. And role-playing in general is very open, very accepting of a lot of people, but Wizards of the Coast has to put it up into the forefront, which creates a diversity and inclusion, and then it creates where they discriminate against one subsect of people to prop up another one. And that is the part of the diversity and inclusion that a lot of people do not like, including myself. But when you also have TSR coming in here, or Justin Lanasa coming in here with a new subsect of rules doing the exact opposite, this is the exact same thing that we're seeing where they are discriminating against another subsection, it is wrong. It's all wrong in this case, right? But this all started with Lanasa copywriting Wizard of the Coast labels and trademarks and logos under the guise of TSR, but TSR is actually owned by Wizards of the Coast. So I made a video early in this series saying Wizards of the Coast is going to own everything that Lanasa has at this point. And I stand by that today. So that is the whole update. There's an injunction out there. I'm not going to go into details. If you guys want to see that, I will leave the main court listener link in the description of this video. You guys can go there. There is many documents to go through, and it is so much, and inherently it's absolutely insane at this point. If you don't want to go through that, go through my previous videos where I have gone through some of this in fuller detail.
Those guys are sharp as nails up there. You can't put anything past them.
While I'm editing and video and doing all the stuff for this video, it's come out through CRB. They're a pseudo gaming website about the injunction against TSR Star Frontier's new Genesis for Wizards of the Coast filing it. Dungeons & Dragons publisher Wizards of the Coast files injunction against TSR LLC in a bid to prevent the release of its upcoming game. Wizards of the Coast motion is noted for consideration on September 30th, 2022, was filed in the United States court system of Seattle, Washington. The motion was shared on September 9th by Twitter user David Fleur and No Hate in Gaming, both of which posted excerpts of the preliminary injunction laying out the specific issues which Wizards of the Coast has cited against TSR, as well as attempts to actively conceal information by the latter. The suit comes counter to the earlier one filed against Wizards of the Coast by TSR, which was voluntarily dismissed on December 20th, 2021. There was a new one actually placed, so that's not entirely true. Yes, they had a suit that was filed, but they filed it in the wrong venue, so they refiled. And from that refiling, this counterclaim and everything going forward. TSR was back in 1973 with Gary Gygax, David Anderson, it just gives details. Wizards of the Coast, who dropped the TSR label from gaming in 2000, allowed the trademark to expire. Since then, two companies have utilized the trademark. They didn't actually let it expire. They used it on RPG drive-thru. They were trying to find a way, and they were updating manuals. They just weren't using it at that time. However, going forward, from 2012 forward, this one says 2011, going forward, it got reused. This version of the company, so since then, two companies have used the TSR trademark, run by Ernie, Justin, and Stephen Deinhardt. This version of the company followed owner Jason Elliott, co-founder of Roll for Initiative, that was the podcast that they had, who acquired the trademark in 2011. As far as I know, they were in conversation with Wizards of the Coast and Luke Gygax for that. Elliott ownership of the trademark lapsed in 2020, and he eventually terminated his relationship with the new TSR after Ernie Gygax's troubling comments about race, gender identity, and gun violence, as well as his company's reaction. This was in 2020. It was a big post in the thing. I thought it was a little overblown, that stuff, but everything that I'm seeing now, I guess it wasn't so much. Lanasa and Deinhardt previous attempts, Deinhardt and Lanasa have split. Deinhardt now runs Wonderfield Games, and Lanasa runs the TSR Hobbies with the Dungeon Hobby Museum. This resulted in TSR launching a crowdfunding campaign, which only raised $5,000, and at the time, I suspect it wasn't actually for them to get a retainer. Apart from the copyright issues, Wizards of the Coast suit against TSR points out disparaging racial and ethnic stereotypes outlined in the internal Star Frontier's New Genesis documents, which has moved to enjoy publication, further distribution of it, irreparable harm because customers may mistakenly associate Wizards, which is 100% true. The beta manuscript for New Genesis included a notice that by TSR, this is not to be given, released, or handled by anyone associated with Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro, which implies TSR had some understanding of the potential legal fallout caused by this publication. Neither TSR nor Wizards of the Coast have made official statements regarding the latest suit at this time. Okay, guys, I gotta level with you. I'm willing to submit to our new overlords of Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. I have actually put up a petition for the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum to be renamed the Hasbro House of Gygax. You know, the name just has a ring to it. I don't know. It's not the greatest name, I think, because you got the Hasbro name to it. But hey, they're the overlords of Dungeons and Dragons. You might as well call it that at this point. And it honors the legendary king god of Gary Gygax at the same time keeping his namesake on the building. I think this is telling of what we can do with this. I think this is something that we can all run forward and actually support. I think it's going to go this way regardless, with the lawsuit and the litigation and the stoppage and the injunctions and the continuation of this story. You guys want to check out the petition? I'll link that down below. It'll be something worth checking out.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
Everything I have seen with this company leads me down a path that is not one to be followed. Justin Lanasa, with your copyright trolling, that's the start of everything. The start of all of this completely going belly up. There's a lot that I've seen with Wizards of the Coast and a lot that I've seen with Hasbro and their takeover of Dungeons and Dragons and the way that they move forward and all this diverse and inclusivity and modernization of their product. There's a lot that I don't like about it. There's a lot that I have seen that I just don't like in the communities surrounding it. Wizards of the Coast, unfortunately, has to sit there and put their foot down on this one. They're going to defend their copyright, and good on them for them, because this is how you would expect something like this to play out in the legal world of lawsuits. Do I support Wizards of the Coast and everything they do? God, there's a lot that I see wrong with the way they treat their players, the way they treat consumers, and how they placate to people on Twitter, how they turn around and make these mistakes and adjust their templating based on a couple things that happen on Twitter and a couple articles that get written, instead of moving forward to actually create a product that is inclusive to everybody out there. They prop up one side and degrade the other, and that's where the situation lies with that. When it does come down to it, there is a solid message in the world of gaming, and that is play the game. If you want to play the game, play the game. Support the books, buy the books, go look at old books and play the game the way you want to play it. That was the original message that Lanasa jumped on with this situation. But since then, he has betrayed the fandom, he has betrayed the players, he's betrayed everyone out there, and yet they call me the traitor. He turned around and took something that was once great and completely perverted it for his own means, and that is why I make these videos and why I continue to do this. With everything I have seen, it's a real disheartening situation. Now Gary Gygax's legacy of Dungeons and Dragons and the rules around it lives on today in thousands of people's homes and thousands of people's fantasies and minds alike. However, it is perverted with a subsect of modernization of today's culture, where things are getting completely twisted and demonized to the point that it's not something that might that wouldn't necessarily be recognizable of that of the 70s and 80s in our timeline. But where we are today, where we know the evil lies that we have seen with the Dungeon Hobby Shop and the new Genesis campaign, it cannot be excused and it cannot be continued. This campaign is something that is degrading to everyone that has stood up against this thing to say that the game has already been diverse. It's something that has been perverted to the point where people have to sit there like myself and say something about it. It is wrong. Bringing in how one subsect of humanity versus another subsect of humanity are not equal is absolutely wrong. There has been a lot that I have covered with this situation. And where it is going right now is not somewhere pretty. It's getting dirty. It's getting absolutely eviscerated. And the court system is going to look at all of this, and everything that Wizards of the Coast has pushed forward will now be validized, will now have validation for why they have done it. And this solely rests at the feet of Justin Lanasa. If anything, you brought the reckoning on the world of RPGs and the world of Dungeons and Dragons and Star Frontiers alike. If anything, this is going to set a precedent for anyone that tries to make a game going forward. It's going to create a disparity against a lot of other creators, and that is where this is going to fall apart. I don't know what the future is going to hold for this case, but the evidence is overwhelming at this point, and it's not something that I take lightly too. Now, leave comments down below. Where do you think this should go? Do you think Wizards of the Coast is going to win this one? I'm firmly on the case that they're going to. There's a lot of memeing that I have done here in this video. There's a lot of trolling in this video. And I do that out of a sense of keeping gaming fun. I do that out of the sense that these things are fun to do. These things are something that we enjoy in life. But now when we sit there and we crack open a freshly made manual and we have to see in the forefront how one person is greater than another, it's not right. Now, in a fantasy realm where we have elves, dwarves, and different species of a realm, yes, there are differences in those characters. There is differences in those species. So the adjustments to attributes makes sense. But when you try to adjust those attributes based on a person's heritage and based on a history that has been denounced by the world, then you have an actual problem and you actually have a path to discrimination and racism. This is where it goes awry. And trying to keep the fantasy and the reality separate is where we try and draw that line. And that line gets blurred. And it has been blurred for some time. But we need to return to the line. We need to return where fantasy stays fantasy and reality stays reality. That's not what I see with Star Frontier's New Genesis. I don't see anyone enjoying that situation. I see it not only that it's damaging to Wizards of the Coast brand name, but I see it as it's damaging to every gamer and RPG player out there alike. It is something that has damaged everyone, and this is why I am against it. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching this one. This is Proud Canadian Phoenix Cindershadow signing off here. Don't forget to like and subscribe, especially if you made it to this far in the video. Also, if you want to help support the channel, there's links down below. Once again, thanks for watching. Have yourselves a great day.